yours. Hits the send button on yours, Oki, the little one down the bottom right-hand side. There you go. All right. Now, Oki, how are we starting off? First 5 cards.
Nice to see they've got the festive background. I hope that brings them some good luck.
All right, nothing overpowered to start with. Be really interested. So both Oki and Jolly are quite new to the server. I'd be really interested just to see how they look at the board and what they look at to sort of start with.
Yep, I mean, for a start, they are both on board view, so they're already doing better than you, Chop.
100%. I am transitioning towards board view, but
you're getting there.
I fall back at old habits.
Old habits die hard.
They do. So really interesting end of round goals here. That Blackbilled Magpie looks really powerful even without its bonus power even being activated, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. It's gonna work for all 4 of those end of round goals, and considering it's the only grassland bird in their starting hand, that is definitely useful just in the short term for this first end of round. But yeah, that star nest could come in handy. I like the owl. I think that's a really strong bird to get as your opening forest bird, and it is so key to get something in your forest early on. The shovel is okay. It is quite expensive. There is the right food in the feeder, so they do have that going for them.
The interesting thing here as well, though, with the shoveler, is just the only water bird there and the tray, so it does become very important.
Yeah, they're not looking like they're going to keep hold of it though, which is a bit of a gamble because, like you said, you kind of need those wetland birds. Otherwise, you're kind of at the mercy of the deck, and if nothing comes up in the tray, then you're really going to struggle for card draw in the early rounds.
Yeah. So what would you pick here out of these 5?
I think I'd probably go. I would definitely go owl and shoveler, and then I think magpie. I'd probably keep that up my sleeve, like you mentioned, just for the end of round goals. I think it's so key, particularly in a 2-player game. You know, any end of round that you're not winning is one that your opponent is winning. So you kind of get that double whammy of not getting the maximum points, but also giving those points to your opponent. So it's so key to at least give yourself a chance of competing for those.
Yeah, and on the event that they happen to put out a couple of predator birds, it just becomes
exactly
amazing, and can actually ruin people's plans. So if you see a magpie down go early, and you've got the falconer or rodentologist, what do you start doing? Do you start going with the original plan of trying to get all those birds, or do you start changing that right up?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think if you do have those hunting birds, you obviously want them to succeed because you're getting points. But in the early game, it's not worth you getting points if it's giving your opponent food. Food is so scarce at the start of the game in particular, and you can't really afford to be giving your opponent that upper hand. So you almost feel like you need to skip those powers. But then if you're going to do that, what's the point in playing them? So yeah, it's a bit of a dilemma there. If Jolly Roll does look to go for hunting birds, and Oki goes with the magpie. Yeah,
I liked the choice. The only thing I would have made a difference was I would have taken a grain, not a slug. And the reason for that is just the shoveler needs 2 grains and 1 slug, so that the likelihood of them being taken, I would have preferred that balance. But other than that, I think that Oki made a good choice.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the starting hand that I would have looked to keep. So yeah, I think that was a good call from them.
There is some water birds here.
Absolutely.
Look at that from Jolly.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. And the Tanager's quite nice. Lots of grubs in the feeder, so they can easily pick up the one for that. And
agreed.
Use the power for it as well, so that could be a really strong start for them.
Yeah, I'd be locking in that Tanager there straight away. Be really interesting to see their bonus card. I think their bonus card really affects which of these birds I look at taking.
Yeah, I think on the surface, the loon is probably the one that I would lean towards initially, but you're right, I think.
Omnivore.
Absolutely, loon all the way with that. I mean, Eulogist is a nice bonus card as well.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that...
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, that king rail, with the egg spaces, with the bonus cards, with
Yeah,
the omnivore is also really interesting, because the loon really requires other people to be doing certain things. Like it can backfire on you in certain situations. So, and there's just not a lot of egg spaces. But yeah, I
yeah,
think omnivore just makes it. That's 8 points for 2 food. It's pretty amazing.
yeah. I think the only thing that would potentially make me consider the Oologist is you look at those end of round goals and it is very egg heavy, so you're going to want to be laying lots of eggs anyway.
Yep.
So you're probably going to fulfill that, you know, without even really
Omnivore is one of
trying.
the best though.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
one of the best.
exactly, because it's got no ceiling, so
Mm,
you could quite easily have a game with 4 or 5 birds that meet that bonus card. And
100%.
yeah,
100%. All right.
okay, I think it's pretty straightforward for Jolly here. You take the grub from the feeder, get the tanager down, and then you can get 2
And
food a turn, get the loon down, and start drawing cards.
yeah, for sure. At this stage, I have to admit, I think I just favor Jolly's starting hand.
Yeah,
Although, just because it's going to take a little bit of effort to get this shoveler down.
yeah, I think that's probably the only thing that is going to slow Oki down a little bit. You
Yeah,
can only get 1 food a turn, so it is going to take 2 turns to get that shoveler down. But there's potential for some co-op here because that shoveler is going to give cards to both players.
mm,
And if the loon is the only water bird they have, that's going to be giving cards to both players as well. So we could be in for some high scores.
yeah. But at the same time, are you going to really activate your cards if your opponent is already giving them to you? So
Yeah, I think with something like the loon, if I do have to share the card with my opponent, I think most of the time I'd still activate it. It is going to depend how much Oki uses that shoveler, because I think you're right. If you are getting lots of free cards anyway, you're probably less likely to need to go to your wetlands and get more cards. But it entirely depends what you get from your card draw.
alrighty. So this game's sort of so far going kind of the way we're playing it. Everyone's sort of sticking
Yeah,
with their own original plan. Sometimes I find that when you're playing these sort of games and then someone picks up like the kite and you're not expecting it, and then that starts opening up the
yeah,
trade to different birds, and you have to adjust. One of those rare sort of huck and draw cards comes up in for your grasslands, and you kind of just change your plan and pick it up to use, but also deny from your opponent as well.
yeah. I think you're right. I think in these kinds of situations, it can very easily snowball. If someone picks a card from the tray and then that reveals another card, and suddenly, the other player is changing their plans because they want to pick that up as well. So
Mm.
it does look like for the most part, both players are sort of on rails and sticking with their plans. But
I
if
I
Oki's
don't
going to draw
mind.
cards here, this might change things a little bit.
I don't mind the mystic. I was about to say I don't mind this kite here because one food, it helps for one of the bonuses here, the end of round goals. Sorry, it it starts getting quicker food draw to get these other two birds out. So I actually don't think this is a bad idea at all.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that concerns me a little bit with the kite is if you are going to play the magpie and you're hoping that your opponent does a lot of hunting, why would you take a hunting bird away that they might look to play? You don't know necessarily if you're Oki what Jolly's got in their hand. They might have needed
Mm.
that kite as their only grassland bird to at least meet this end of round goal. So they've kind of denied the opportunity at least to get points if they are going to look to play the magpie.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they gave them a couple of turns to see if they wanted to pick it up. They didn't. But you could see it was almost like a frustration from Moki. Am I really going to do this like one at a
Yeah.
time and then get another 2 turns to put down my magpie? Like it's going to take a bit. This enables them to get hopefully at least one or two of those birds down at the same time.
Yeah, so what are you thinking here, Vyoki? You lay eggs, get the kite down, and then you can get 2 food a turn to get the shoveler down quicker? Is that what you
100%.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think the only concern maybe is if they are giving up on this end of round goal, because obviously we can see Jolly's hand. No real grassland birds at the moment. I imagine they will look to get some card draw from their wetland soon, but again, unless you're going to take the flycatcher in the tray, you're sort of gambling on what the deck gives you, and if the deck doesn't give you any grassland birds, then you're not going to be able to meet this end of round goal.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that, yeah, see, Oki can kind of, that black-billed magpie will be pretty amazing if that ends up being a 7-point bird just straight up because it wins the end of round goal.
Yeah, I think the 2 food for 3 points, it can be a bit weak, and obviously that pink power, it depends entirely on what your opponent plays. But you're right, if that gets you an extra 4 points from that end of round goal, there's not a whole lot of birds that give you 7 points for 2 food, and that star nest is really going to come into play with all those other end of round goals as well.
Yep, for sure.
Okay, I wonder now, with the loon going down before Oki plays their shoveler, I wonder if that might make them, hold off a little bit more. Because obviously, if the shoveler doesn't go down, then Jolly won't be able to activate the loon to get the extra card. So, it might be something for Oki to consider.
You know what's also interesting when we're talking about the starting hands and who do we like better, as much as the ease of getting their cards down was better for Jolly Roll, Oki is more set up for end of round goals. Like right now, Jolly not only doesn't have a bird for the first, but also the second and the third, and only has 1 bird for the fourth. Like, I mean, it's very early days, but they're going to have to get a little bit lucky. I mean, it's not going to be, drawing some of these birds isn't going to be super hard, but there is still a little bit of luck that's going to come into it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. If you just look purely at points on the board, and obviously the bird powers that they've got, I think Jolly definitely is looking ahead right now. But you're right. If you can win 3 or 4 of those end of round goals, that is a huge advantage to get over your opponent. So that is looking much more promising for Oki than it is for Jolly Roll at the moment.
100%. It'd be interesting to see whether Jolly Roll lays the eggs to be able to grab 2 cards and then make a decision on the third one. They have to, right? Because you can't use a loon when your opponent has no wetlands. You're just giving them a free card for nothing. So it has to lay eggs, which they have done.
Yeah, I think this is the right move. Give yourself the option at least to get the extra card, and who knows? I mean, Oki might still look at getting the shovel down, but the food is there in the bird feeder, so
I'm interested
to go for the magpie or not, just for this end of round goal.
I'm really interested to see that they took the food for the shovel here. I really hope that they take 2 more food and get the blackbird down first, when there's only 2 turns. Look, looking at Oki, they could be going, you know what, there's the food right here for the shovel now. I'm not going to get greedy. I'll take that now and then take whatever 2 random food is left for the blackbird.
The only thing that concerns me slightly with that is, Oki are they going first on the second round?
Second.
Yeah, going second, okay. Because I think, it's whenever you get that chance at the start of a new round with a new tray, you want to be able to maximize that and draw as many cards as possible.
Oh, wow. That is snatched up that mallard. That's
aggressive, but I like it. I think that's a bold move. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think.
Well, actually, do you know what that does?
Yeah, because they can get the magpie now, and then they can get the mallard down straight away in round 2, and that's going to be really strong for them.
Yeah, fair play. The Viro picked up by Jolly is going to be very good for end of round. That's a great bonus card with the Starbird.
Yeah, and I think it saved their bacon a bit, even for the first end of round, because they can look to get the flycatcher down potentially as well. That's then going to give them grubs, along with the tanager to help get that Vireo down. And you're right, that star nest, I think that is really going to help them, and compete with the magpie at least.
I wonder if Oki looked to see that they did pick up the flycatcher, and then they picked up the exact food that they needed for the flycatcher straight away, just to.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where paying attention to what your opponent does is so important. If you can remember that, what birds they've got, what food they've taken. You can have in your mind, okay, he's going to play the flycatcher and lay eggs, so I'm going to get some grubs. So maybe I can afford 1 less turn going to the bird feeder, if that's going to help get me cards down myself.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I like this. This is looking like such a strong start for Jolly Roll. You know, if you look already at how many points they've just got on the board. They've got strong birds in each habitat that's going to get them extra resources, and obviously seeing the Vireo in their hand, that's going to help them with their end of round goal. So yeah, really looking like a strong start, and a couple of good birds in the tray for them to consider as well.
Yeah, interesting. I think the Aninga is probably the nicest one for end of round goals.
Yeah,
But nothing for the omnivore at all.
No, oh, that's a good draw. I was going to say the Willet is a nice sort of secondary
Oh,
card. Oh, here we go.
Speaking of,
Well, you don't need those wetland birds anymore.
no.
You don't need to activate this. I think Oki still doesn't have a wetland bird anyway, so you definitely don't want to be activating that. And yeah, that could potentially be game over as early as the start of round 2 with the Killdeer coming up, because Killdeer Flycatcher in the grasslands is so strong.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't really matter if you're giving your opponent free food if you're also getting cards and eggs at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel a little bit for Oki here. I'm not sure what he can do other than get the Mallard down and just start digging for cards himself.
Yeah, 100%. And as soon as you see the Killdeer come up, deny any tuck and lay egg or tuck and draw cards.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think with the Mallard, that's going to help. You know, it's always annoying when you know that you have to deny your opponent a card, and you can only take one a turn, so you feel like you're wasting a turn just to stop them getting something. But at least if you've got the Mallard, that gives you the option to draw 2 or even 3 cards, so it doesn't feel like a complete waste. I think they have to go food here and just...
Yeah, I would
discard. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
I'd discard the yellow throat.
It's no use for the end of round. It doesn't work for your bonus card. You never can.
It's only a 1-point card.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Interesting. They chose not to. I think they'll always have the option, I guess, of doing it next time they go to the bird feeder. But unless they do get those tucking cards for working with the Killdeer, they're just going to have so many excess cards anyway that discarding those is not going to be a problem in the forest anyway.
Yeah, completely agree. I had the exact same thought as you. I would have discarded that card without even thinking. Got the exact right amount of food to be able to lay the Killdeer, and also the Varo at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing is, they haven't got eggs, so they'll have to lay eggs anyway, at which point they'll get the extra grub, so laying
Yeah, but you are giving it to your opponent at that stage, so you could have discarded the card, they could have got 3 slugs, and then not given their opponent one, so I just think it is that 1% stronger by doing that.
Yeah, no, I still think it would have been a good move, but I think they can get away with it here.
You know what would be really interesting?
That's nice. That's not maybe going to work for them, but it's good to deny that, I guess, even if it's.
I think it could, right? Because it's not that Oki knows it now, but once that Killdeer goes down, you get the Shoveler down as well, and you start getting 4 cards at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just give my view is, as soon as someone's getting a lot of something, either with a Raven or the Kill Gull, if you can, overwhelm them with that thing. If you can get the like a give card to someone that has the Kill Guard, or if you can overdo the food with those honey eaters and stuff like that, then you go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we already mentioned that Jolly Roll's going to have so many cards from the Killdeer if they're not getting these tucking cards. So yeah, I think absolutely it benefits you more than your opponent getting those extra cards. So yeah, I think they've got a decent enough grasslands to get Forest even to get the food that they need to get both the Blackbird and the Shoveler down pretty quickly. So yeah, I think I definitely look at doing that, and suddenly you've got 5-point grasslands, and yeah, that's a lot stronger in terms of point scoring than Jolly's.
Definitely. And you are in a better position as well to pick up end of round goals for this second one, because you've got 2 birds compared to 1 in that sort of situation as well. So I don't think this is done yet. I think that it's definitely advantage Jolly Roll, but if Jolly Roll doesn't get the cards or makes a couple of little mistakes, and Oki plays a really solid game here, this could be really, really close.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is going to come a lot down to what cards they can get with that Killdeer. If they do manage to get a really nice tuck and lay card early on, you know, if they draw the bush tit or something like that, or even a Junko to get them extra food, that's going to be so strong.
The
But,
bush tit would be amazing though with end of round goals. Would be just
absolutely. But yeah, you know, we've all had those games before where you get the Kildare or the Gull at some point in round 2, and you just draw nothing throughout the whole game that's going to help you.
Oh, 100%.
So, you know, it all comes down to what you can get from the deck.
Yeah. I feel like it's in a bit of a poker reference. It's like celebrating too early. You're like, yeah, Kildare straight away, and then like just because you celebrated too early about getting it, you just lose the hand. Just happens.
Yeah. I think Jolly is definitely in the stronger position, but absolutely there is a long way to go in this game yet.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm a little bit intrigued as to why Warbler's not been taken yet. I know a few people in the chat on YouTube have been picking up on this. I think that's, you know, if you know, as I say, it's been taken, but if you know that your opponent is giving you free grubs, you can get that down so easily. I know it doesn't help with the bonus or the end of round, but it's still an 8-point bird. You know, you look to get those down.
It reveals the puffin, starbird, bonus bird, but neither of them have really strong food at this stage.
No, I don't think you wouldn't look to play that puffin with 6 grubs. So that would be a lot of trips to the bird feeder, I think, for Jolly. So a bit of a
definitely
tricky one.
I'm interested to see the fact that Jolly denied the free. Did Jolly end up denying the free slug last time?
I think he did use it. I think he considered skipping it. But he did use it in the end to get to the 3. So I think he was just thinking in terms of timing. You know, I need to get this Viria down if I am going to get something.
You need to get it down quick.
You need to get something for this end of round at least, because they haven't got any other cavity nest birds.
So Jolly should be pretty simple, right? Gain eggs, discard 1, get the 2 cards, get the slug, get the Vireo down, lay eggs, put eggs in the Vireo, at least compete for that end of round goal.
I think that's
and see what your other 2 cards. Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think they need to get that down as soon as possible to help the end of round. But you know, I think there are situations where it's good to see that second bonus card early, because especially with the Kildare where you're going to see a lot of cards, you need to work out which ones to play, which ones are going to work best with your bonus card. So you know, the earlier you can see that bonus card, the more information you're giving yourself to make those decisions.
Agreed.
Yeah, I wonder what Oki's play is going to be from here. We saw them go for cards last turn. They drew the Bittern, which is another one of those birds that is giving cards, I think, to the player with the fewest wetland birds.
It is
not going to work so well for them, particularly in this situation. But I think they can still look to get the shoveler down and the blackbird, as we said. And yeah, with all these free grubs they're getting from Jolly's flycatcher, that's absolutely going to help get those birds down.
They can get the warbler down right now.
Yeah, I would
which will just enable.
That. Yeah,
enable 3 eggs.
Exactly, that's the problem. I think at the moment, whenever they lay eggs, and they are going to need to lay a lot of eggs if they're going to, compete for these end of round goals. It's always annoying when you get to sort of the end of round 2 and you're still only getting 2 eggs a time. I think
actually
it's stronger to get that third egg.
I think I'd actually probably lay the blackbird, to be honest, because you're not going to keep that Bittern. You want to start being able to cycle through them. I'd probably that warbler doesn't need to go down for end of round or anything like that. I probably would have actually gone with the blackbird myself.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think whenever you've got something like the warbler or these other white powered birds or birds that don't have any powers, it doesn't really matter when you play them. You know, you can play that your last turn and it's still going to be as effective as playing it now. I think you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
That Bittern is probably not going to get played. I know it's a lot of points, but the power's not going to be much use. So absolutely, they could have played the blackbird, and then they're going to need to lay eggs for this end of round, and they could have took the Bittern then instead.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that the only thing that I see that's hurting Oki as well is, I mean, not only thing, one thing is this bonus card's getting absolutely no action. The Viticulturist with the cherries.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No,
nothing.
It's a shame.
Nothing on the board.
It's quite a nice bonus card. I think generally, some of these bigger point birds, and we see with the Gallinule that Jolly's just taken, as well as the flycatcher on their board. There's a lot of these high point birds that take the cherries, and plenty of bonus card giving birds that take the cherries. So I think generally it is one of the
Hold
easier
on a second.
bonus cards to max out.
Sorry, Jolly's just made a really big error there by not playing the Vireo last turn to be able to get it down to lay eggs on it for the end of round goal.
Yeah, that's
So
good
now
tip.
they lay it now and it's too late, and this now end of round goal is not only Jolly's to win, but to win to nothing, which becomes a 5-point end of round goal.
Yeah, it's an odd one. I think we mentioned it. Get that Vireo down as soon as possible, and I don't think there was anything in the tray. I think they did take the puffin on the previous turn, but
They did. They took it on the previous one. They
I,
took the blackbird and the other one that's sitting there.
Yeah, certainly those are not really birds. I guess the Gallignol is nice for their bonus card, but I don't think it's worth sacrificing all these end of round points that you'd have got from playing the Vireo turn earlier. It certainly seems like an odd play.
They weren't even aware that was a blind draw as well, so it wasn't. That was a gamble to take that. So it's very, very odd decision, and it's those little 1%ers that can really kill you in games, because so many of these games are decided by 5 points, and you lose 2 points right there.
Exactly. Every point counts. You can't afford to be giving away points to your opponent, even this early in the game. So yeah, I wonder if that might come back to bite them. Not a particularly great draw. Would you go for the slightly safer bet of the nest box, or would you gamble and hope that you're going to get a bush hit or something that makes the bird counter work?
In my opinion, the bird counter is actually the safer view. All you need is one bird to get 2 points, whereas you need 3 birds to get 4 points in the other one. So I actually think the bird counter is safer. And it works so well with their hand, because there's so many of those sort of cards that they want to be laying in the grasslands that are going to now be 2 points worth more. So I think it was a really easy choice for me on that bonus card.
Yeah, I think if they can get their hands on even just something like a barn swallow, but obviously you'd look for one of those tuck and lay. I think that's going to be really strong. But yeah, I mean, even the blackbird in their hand, they're probably not going to play that for the power, but it now becomes a 6-point bird with that bonus card. So it's potentially an option going forward.
Yeah, one thing to note with this for some newer players, because I know that I was actually having this conversation with Oki the other day, is a lot of people thought when they're brand new that if you're playing a 1v1 game and you get no birds in there, you just automatically get second, and it takes people a couple of times to realize that if you get 0 of that, you actually get 0 points. You don't just get second for nothing. So it's a really important thing to always make sure that you are at least getting 1 egg or whatever you need in there just to compete. The only time that's not really required is that first one where you're only missing out on 1 point, but after that, 2 points, 3 points, and 4 points for second is quite large in a 1v1 game.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. I think that first end of round is probably the only one I would consider ignoring if it wasn't worth it for the points. But yeah, you can't afford to be giving away 2, 3, or 4 points in those other rounds. You need to at least qualify.
Yep, and this you have to deny here if you are Oki as well. That Swift is way too powerful for them.
Yeah.
One, they've got free slug. It's a tuck card. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, you might even now prefer that to the blackbird. You can probably count on getting that grub from the flycatcher, and suddenly you're getting that down straight away. You look at all these other birds that Oki's going to have in their hand that they're probably not going to want to play. That just gives them even more options for tucking. So yeah, I think that's a good pickup for them. But even more importantly, it's a huge denial for Jolly, because that's such a strong card for them.
Yeah, it's such a nice card, because at the end of the day, it's one food less than the blackbird, but only 1 point less. But being able to lay that egg wherever you want rather than it being on that bird is very nice power.
Yep, and particularly looking at those end of round goals, none of them are eggs in bowl nests, so I don't think the blackbird would really help. Actually, you're right, having that option to play the egg wherever you want. You can put it in the nest that most suits the end of round goal that you're looking to compete for.
Now that coot just became really powerful. That's now a 7-point bird with the 2 bonus cards, the omnivore and the bird counter, and it goes towards points for the end of round 3 goal as well. That's a really nice lucky draw for that coot.
100%. Yep. 2 food for 7 points, and you're right. They're already a little bit short on egg space, so the coot with those 5 spots, it already helps, relieve some of that egg pressure anyway. But yeah, that third end of round goal, I don't think Oki has got much space in terms of platform nest. So yeah, you get the coot down and combine with the Vireo, you're gonna have a really strong chance at winning this end of round goal.
Yeah, this game would be pretty funny if it was live, because both players would have their hands like full of cards, trying to shuffle between it, trying to work out what was going on and which card was which.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a position where playing the digital version is a lot easier, because you're right, you just flick back and forth, and you don't have to worry too much about it. You can see everything all at once. But yeah, it's would be interesting to see this in person.
What do you think about playing the hummingbird in the grasslands here, and start not only with your egg generation but also be getting a cherry and a slug? You are giving it to your opponent. You're making it a high scoring game, but you should have the advantage because you can lay eggs, get cards, and get food all at the same time when your opponent doesn't have that ability.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of a risky play. Like you say, you're going to be giving your opponent 2 food a turn, and with the strong card draw that Oki has, they can afford to spend a few turns drawing cards and almost ignore forest if they're going to be getting so much food from their opponent. But yeah, I think at this point, if you are jolly, you need that food, and the hummingbird, even if you're not going to activate it, it's still 6 points with the bonus card, and 6 points for 1 food is massive. So I think I'd absolutely look to get that down.
Yeah, agreed. The good thing as well about those ones is you are picking and choosing when you're going to be giving food. So if you're kind of set up, you can actually start going, you know what, I'm going to deny, and it can really mess up your opponent. I know I've been on the other side where I'm like just hanging out, not wanting to waste a turn getting food, and then that food just never ends up coming. And it kind of can limit your scores because you start anticipating your opponent too much.
Yeah, I've definitely fallen into the trap before where I've seen my opponent play a lot of these cooperative birds, so the Phoebe, the flycatcher, the hummingbirds, and you get a taste for it, you get used to it, you sort of get hooked on this free food, and you ignore your forest because you're getting all of this free food, and then suddenly it stops, end of round 3, start of round 4, and you have nothing to go off because your forest is so weak because you've ignored it, and right when you need that food because you've got those big point birds, your opponent just goes, nope, you're not getting any more of this. You can really grind to a halt in that last round.
Yeah, agreed. All right, this. Oh, I probably would have laid the Swift, but I don't think you need to get this much food when your opponent is giving it to you.
No, and I think now if you're jolly and you see that play, I think that gives you even more incentive to get the hummingbird down, because it's such a strong forest. And I think in any situation like this, where if you can spot where your opponent's strength is, and like we mentioned before, just sort of overload them with stuff that they can already get very easily, I think that's quite frustrating to have to play against. But yeah, that would be such a strong move, I think, for this point for John.
Yeah, I wonder if Oki got that down for their bonus card, but there's still another bird off being able to get that, and they don't have that in their hand at all, and it's only 3 points. I hope that wasn't going into their thinking. I really would have preferred to see the Swift go down.
Yeah, 100%. I think, the flycatcher, if they could get that second cherry bird for their bonus card, then I think it makes sense. But certainly, don't play it until you actually see that second bird, because there's not a whole lot of the game left. They might not even see another cherry bird, at which point that flycatcher isn't going to help get any points on that bonus card, and it just feels like a bit of a waste.
Yeah, I definitely also would have been laying the black-chinned hummingbird on this turn as well. Like we said, once we saw that, I was already leaning to do it anyway, let alone seeing that from Oki as well.
Yeah, you want to maximize usage. It's been in their hand for quite a while now, and you just wonder, okay, if they played this, 2, 3, 4 turns ago, they could be looking at so much more food, and they've got that puffin in their hand that they'll need to get down at some point. do you really want to spend a turn going to the bird feeder, or do you just want to, overload on food and have to pay those 2-for-1s, but at least you're getting it down?
Definitely. And you are also setting yourself up that you can actually use some of that food to gain extra eggs and in the final round if needed, by having the third bird being able to discard that food for the extra egg is quite useful as well.
Yeah, it gives you options, and obviously, they need to be getting as many eggs down as possible, not just for the points, but looking at these end of round goals. So at the moment they are only getting 2 a turn with the Killdeer activation, which is a bit slow. It's not a great point scoring engine. It's only going to
No, it's
enable them
not.
to get these big point birds down. But yeah, without the food draw, they're really going to struggle on that.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the difference between experience here with Jolly and Oki is they seem to have the right ideas in regards to creating engines. I just think that they take 1 or 2 turns longer to do it than some of the more experienced players. And what that does is they just lose a couple of rounds of actually using those engines and then maximizing it. And that's the difference between, scoring in the 80s and regularly scoring in the 90s without, OP birds and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. We saw at the start of this game, Jolly got off to a really quick start, and they had those 3 really big point birds and strong powers in that first round, and you just thought, okay, yeah, how high is the score going to be? This game's all about rhythm, and it's about keeping that tempo going and actually being able to get the birds down at the right time so that you're able to get the most usage out of them. And yeah, I mean, the key thing in Wingspan is exactly how many turns you've got. You've got 26 turns. You've got to make the most out of every single one of those turns. I can't tell you how many times, I'll introduce this game to people, and you get to that last round, they go, "Oh, if only I had one more turn, I could have done this." But you knew you didn't have one more turn because you know exactly how many you've got, and you have to plan accordingly, and yeah, make absolute maximum usage out of all of the turns that you're given.
Yeah, definitely. And funny thing is, I've seen on the Wingspan Reddit page of the amount of people that actually add a 5th round to this game, just because they get so focused on making a big engine that's going to create a lot of points that they only get to do that with 1 turn. So they're like, oh, let's do a 5th round so we can both use these engines. But they kind of changed the game just because they don't have to change their style, rather than actually adapting your style to create an engine that you can use in the last couple of turns and get some really big points out of the last couple of goes that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can sympathise with these people because it's almost like you've created a masterpiece on your board and you just didn't really get the opportunity to enjoy it. But yeah, this is a time-sensitive game. It's not about creating the best engine; it's about getting the most use out of it. So
Yeah, we're not trying to
get that as soon as possible.
We're not trying to create the oh man, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, but was it the Familia, the church in Spain, in Barcelona, that's been built, the Gaudi one that's taken like 150 years and it's only like 3/4 of the way built?
Yeah, that's all you.
That was all me. Yeah, it's a. Do you know Gaudi, the?
Yeah, I know what you're on about. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, that's all that matters.
I got the reference.
That's all that matters. It was a poor reference, but as long as a couple of people picked up on it, then that's all that matters.
Not your finest.
No,
okay.
No.
Interesting move from Jolly Roll last turn. So they did go for the bird feeder. They've got the food for the night heron, and they keep looking at it in their hand. So
why?
I do wonder if that's the one they're going to prioritize. It does feel a little bit odd. I think the coot that we mentioned before, I think is way more effective working with their bonus cards, and just on a point per food basis is more efficient. But equally, they've still got that puffin, and I think the puffin over the night heron all day long if you can get that fish. So
Agreed.
Interesting to see what they go for here.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it is important for people to understand that this is 3 points per food, whereas the coot is 4.5 points per food, and that's just really important. And just to remind people that it's that big because of the 2 bonus cards. The omnivore is adding 2 points to it, and then also the bird counter is adding another 2 points to it, so it becomes a 7-point bird. So it's really, really strong, and I'm not sure if Jolly's picking up that.
No, I think they do keep looking at this night heron, and I'm not sure it is the way to go. Absolutely, the puffin is one of the strongest birds in the game. If you're able to get the food for it, that star nest as well is nice with these end of round goals, and also is going to help. If they draw a nest bonus card, that's already going to help one towards it. So yeah, it'd be
Where do
interesting
you
to see
see?
how this goes.
As much as I'm one for the early crow, what do you reckon here? Where do you see this game finishing up? Like, who do you think's in the lead at the moment?
It's a tricky one. I think, in terms of points on the board, it probably is Jolly's at the moment, and it could potentially come down to those end of round goals. I think they have spent a lot of turns activating their grasslands, and it is only 2 points a turn. So really, they need to maximise getting as many of these big point birds down as possible, because they're just not really able to run that grasslands. I think on the last turn, Oki did get that swift down, so suddenly they've got a 5 or 6 point grasslands engine, which is so much stronger, and they've even got some big point birds of themselves. So looking maybe to get the swan and the warbler down. So I think it could be quite tight. Jolly got off to a much quicker start, but Oki's fought his way back in this, and has done a really good job of that.
Well, it's interesting that we've got 2 turns to go in the third round, depending on whether this last bird goes down, and they're only at 6 birds. Really would have wanted to create a better grasslands here, just to, like you said, to create more ability to do a few different things and create more points.
Yeah, it felt a little bit slow. I think they started off round 2 pretty well. They already had the flycatcher down, and they were able to get that killdeer added pretty quickly. But that's still 10 turns or so since that's happened, and they've not been able to add anything to it. Maybe the card draw could have been kinder, but I still think that hummingbird in their hand would have been a really nice addition to that grassland, and it almost feels like now it's at the point where it's too late to think about getting it down.
Yeah, well, it's not like the Woodlands has given them any points, right? Yeah, they're getting 3 food, but it's 0 point turn when you're doing that. So if you're doing a 0 point turn, and then what is now only going to be a 6 point bird plus bonus cards, that was only 3 points per turn. It's actually not that strong anymore. If you whiff on that bonus card, it's a massive waste.
Yep, and we've seen games on these live streams before come down to a late bonus card bird, and you are sort of at the mercy of the Wingspan gods, and are they going to be kind to you and give you a nice bonus card, and can't really afford to be leaving all of your hopes of a win on that last bonus card. It's a big risk to play into,
and especially when you've only got 7 birds down, and the bonus cards they already have actually already suit them. So what are you going to get? Okay, Waterlands, that's 3 points.
Yeah, I think it is useful
Nothing
to
else
have in
really
mind.
helps.
Yeah, it's useful to have in mind what bonus cards you could potentially draw that would work. And you're right, they've already got a couple of pretty strong bonus cards. Omnivore in particular is so strong. But yeah, you kind of look, and they've not really got lots of the same nest types. They are kind of missing out on some of those habitat ones as well. So yeah, their hopes are not looking good for a high point bonus card here.
Yeah, definitely. I have a feeling that Jolly might snatch this. I'm not Jolly, sorry, Oki might snatch this. I think that Oki's just done more in what I like to call the Premiership quarter, and this third end of round is just so important in creating the engine, setting up for the last one. So it's just going to be, if they can get this Peregrine Falcon down,
that could be huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that unlocks that extra egg, and is also going to have potential for some hunt. So yeah,
and it's a big hunt, like 100 centimeters is great.
Yeah, so we do have a poll now in the chat on YouTube. Who do you think is going to win this game? You can vote either Jolly or Oki. Looks like Chop's gone for Oki. I think it's going to be really close. This is such a difficult one to call. You always like sticking your neck out on there, so fair play.
I do.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one to call.
Because you're either right or you're wrong, and that's it. And if you're wrong, you go, I was wrong, and that's it. Yep. You move on. So
I mean, we've had some terrible calls on this on these streets before.
Most of them have been by me. So
yeah. No, I think we had one last time when what was it? It's Floating Lakes against Tay Ray, We were convinced that Terre was going to have it in the bag by like 10 points, and it was the complete opposite way around, and Lakes just absolutely destroyed him. So, yeah, egg on our faces for sure.
In saying that, we're not exactly. Well, I don't know why they're picking the. That there is some odd decisions happening by Jolly Rollies. It's too late now to be just randomly drawing cards. I almost think the kill deer is done for
it's done its work
for Jolly.
really.
You really just need to get some birds down of what you had, and hope for the best. But yeah, the more I see these sort of plays by Jolly, the more I think that Oki's going to steal this. Oh, look at that big trumpeter one.
Yeah, 8 points. That's nice. Yeah, I think
And
you're
end
right.
of round.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's key in this game to work out at what point you keep twisting, at which point you stick. They've had that killdeer doing work for such a long time. It's given them so many cards. They've got more than enough big point cards already. We talked about the puffin, even the coot that they still haven't played. They could look to get down, and even the hummingbird is still 5 points. That's not terrible for a last round play. The more turns they've spent in this grassland getting 2 points, it just gives them less turns to play these big point birds. And yeah, I do wonder if they've left it a little bit too late here to get all of these down.
Definitely. Now, I think that for me, the decision, and this is where I'd stop and do some maths if I was Oki.
Yeah.
The decision is, do I take some food to make sure I get that falcon down, or am I better off just doing 4 turns of laying eggs here? And I would step down the maths. I would go, I'm probably going to get likely 1 point, but not guaranteed, but likely 1 point out of the food. It's then going to be 3 points to lay down the falcon, and then I'll get 2 turns of 4 eggs, plus then tucking those cards, laying down the egg. You've got a very nice engine then if you get that peregrine down. And then stepping it from there, or is it sometimes it is just better though to go, you know what, I'm just laying the eggs here, because they do have 2 slugs, so you could for 2 of those 4 turns actually still lay down 4 eggs. You get to tuck all 3 of those birds to the swift, and they've got plenty of egg space, so it would be a tight call, and I would really like to see the maths on it.
Yep, and I think so many of these games it does come down to just doing a bit of maths at the end, and working out are you going to get free food from your opponent? Is that going to play into it? I think certainly if you're Oki, you're looking at Jolly's position now. They've got 5 food in their supply. You must be looking at it thinking, okay, they're going to play at least 2 birds, potentially 3. So you can't sit around and wait for that free grub from the flycatcher. I think just without mathing it out myself and just looking at it, it does feel like at least getting that warbler down is going to be important for them. They can't lay eggs 4 times because they have only got 3 casts to tuck. So I think at least playing one of these.
So would you go the warbler or the falcon? Because I'd go the falcon because of that extra egg generation. I really think that's going to be.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to do the maths now. I'm going to do it. All right. So this is, and I think this is good for some new players. This is how I'll work this out. So the points for gaining food right here, you probably only got a 20% chance of getting the kite, and 50% chance of getting the owl. So I'd say that's 0.75. For that turn, laying the peregrine then would be a 3-point turn, but then from there on, 4 points for eggs, 0.75 for the falcon. Tucking 1 would be an extra 2 points, so that becomes 6.75 for the last 2 turns. So that ends up being 19.25 points, compared to just laying eggs, which would have been 4 points because you would discard the slug, and then tuck and lay, so that's 6 points. That would be the same for the next turn, and then the last 2 turns. You got 1 more 1, which would be 5, and then 3 for the last turn. So this isn't going anything to do with the warbler, which you were suggesting, but that would actually be 20 points. So that would actually likely, just laying eggs, not getting food, would actually get you, on average, 0.75 points more per turn, which, let's say, is 1 point. It could actually be the game at the end of the day. So it's actually better just to lay eggs, discard the slugs. Your opponent might give you another slug to discard, and that gives you another point as well. And that's where the maths really does come into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think these kinds of decisions, it can often be touch and go. It can be a point either way, and it can come down to whether your hunting birds are going to be successful. But yeah, so just looking at Jolly, their position now, Puffin has gone down. Looked like quite a nice draw on the bonus card as well. So is that going to swing the game back in their favour now? If they've done the maths on the Puffin and worked out, how many more of these birds can I play, and is it going to be worth it? That might come and play into their hands again now, and this is certainly going to be a close game.
Definitely. Visionary Leader was a nice pickup though, wasn't it? That kind of lucked out into the single best bonus card they could have got right then.
Yeah, it's very rare that you like seeing that at the end of the game, but this is absolutely one of those positions for sure.
It's kind of, for me, it's always one of those sad happy moments where it's kind of like when the backyard birder works out for you. You're like, ooh, that's not great.
Yeah, it's not one you'd keep at the start of the game, but you're happy seeing it late game if it works for you. I just want to point out to you, Chop, we had a little poll going on in the YouTube chat while you were doing the maths. Should we have more of Chop doing maths live on the future live streams? And an overwhelming majority, 72% of people, said they would love to see you do more maths. So I think we could make.
How does that make you feel, being the person that actually studied maths at uni?
I'm the guy who had to sit through that and painfully listen to you add up single-digit numbers.
Yeah, but I was talking it out for people's benefit, all right?
I think it's useful, and like you said, it's a useful exercise, and it's certainly something that I do, and it's certainly something I've seen other players do on the server. You get to that last one, and you think, why are they taking 4 minutes on this turn? And it's because they got the calculator out and they're doing their sums just to see which is the better route to go down.
Oh man, Devim is the worst at it, because they not only just calculate the points, they calculate what the expected points are and then trying to work out whether they need to gamble on certain things, like do I lay a bonus card to try and gamble on getting extra ones because I'm already behind. I could be sitting here with Devim and doing 5 minutes waiting for them to do calculations, because whilst you might thought I was slow in doing those single point thing, Devim's counting on his fingers and toes. Like that's where it's at.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm so glad you called him out, because someone had to. It can be painfully slow in those last rounds when he's doing all of his sums and adding up, which is going to be the best route.
One thing that I don't like that Oki hasn't done is discarding the slug to gain the extra egg, and I would have liked to have seen that earlier, because now that you've only got 2 turns left and 2 slugs yet, if Jolly Roll was to give you another slug, it's a waste now. So if you had have used it in the first 2 turns when you've decided to go down this path, and then you happen to luck out and getting another one, you can actually use it for that extra egg. So it's only very small. It's only a small chance that it actually happens, but it would have been beneficial.
Yeah, little bit of a whiff on that bonus card. Fishery Manager's not terrible, 3 points, but they're looking at that 8-point white-faced ibis in their hand and thinking, I could have got that down as well if I'd only seen that bonus card sooner.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think just from Oki's perspective, I wonder if maybe they were holding out on those grubs just to see, if I get another one, maybe I think about doing the warbler, but, we sat through you doing the sums, and I think certainly laying those eggs and actually discarding the food there and getting the eggs and the tucks, it seemed like it was the better play. So yeah,
but it was only the better play with discarding the slugs. So if you don't discard the slugs, it actually still would have been better to take the food and get the and get the predator bird down.
Yeah, I mean, I think they might be thinking in their mind, okay, maybe Jolly's going to lay eggs one more time. I'm trying to work
But it's
out
not enough.
whether it's no. But I'm just trying to work out even for Jolly. You know, is it worth them laying eggs? Or is there another bird they can play that's going to get them more points?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, they might have to take into account the visionary leader, of course, because I think they've got 8 birds in their hand already. So if they do play another one, that suddenly drops them down 3 points on the visionary leader. So they'll have to take that one into account.
agreed. Look, I think Oki has learned a lot over the last couple of days, because this game from Oki is far better than what I've seen from them recently. Like, it's just well thought out, and they're just thinking through, and they're making the right pivots at the right time. I've been really, really happy with the way Oki's played this game, and they should be very proud of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, like we said at the start of this game, you know, these are two relatively new players, and we have had quite a few new players as well on some of our other streams in this tournament. I just think it's a good opportunity, you know, for new players to be able to see their games back and be able to see, okay, where were the key decisions? You know, what could I have done better in this position, or should I have done this sooner, or should I have not done this? You know, you can only improve in this game by seeing and analysing and thinking about what you've done and where you might have made these mistakes. But yeah, certainly we've seen lots of improvements from these new players, and I just think
100%.
these streams and these tournaments are a great opportunity for them to improve even more.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing that I know that Oki, from chatting to them, has come from is it's a big chess background, and chess, when you often play online and you either win or lose a game, it lets you reflect and go and see what would have happened had you done other things. And I think that this will be a big game changer for Oki, just to be able to review this and go, oh, that's where I see that, this is what I see, and go from there. But we're now down to the big moment, the big finale.
Here we go.
Oh, Jolly,
still
Jolly
confident?
just.
Oh
Jolly
wow,
just,
they did. Okay.
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Where did that come down to? So in the
Must
end,
be on the bonus.
points.
It has to be
Yeah,
bonus.
bonus is huge. That's crazy. I'm just gonna unmute them both.
Yeah. Get them back in, see what their thoughts were.
Yeah. So in the end,
on the bonus.
Points. Hello.
Hey. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm putting my volume down a little bit. Oh, I just got outgunned, I think.
Yeah. Well played to both of you. You both did well.
Tell me what you really think.
Well, you'll be able to hear that as soon
you'll
as
hear it
this is
back.
over. You can go back and listen to it. You finally get that chess craving that you're after, of being able to review your game.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. Are we live
In
now, or are you
retrospect, I think I should have just dumped every bird in my opening hand and gone for food.
No, I think that your start, Jolly, was perfect, to be honest. We
I'm
both
just
agreed
talking
that we would have taken.
Talking to Oki.
Oh, sorry, Oki. No, I think that you took the exact same cards that I would have taken in that situation.
Yeah.
Both of you took the exact same cards and had the exact same strategy that we both would have taken. I think there was only a very slight difference for you, Oki, that I would have done differently, which you had the shoveler and it was 2 slugs and a wheat, and you kept the wheat, and I said that I would have kept the slug at that situation, just so that it was a bit more, it was easier depending on what food came out of the roller. But that was it. Both of you played the starting hands the exact same way that we would have.
Yeah,
I was
good.
thinking, what if I would have took the shoveler and shoved it and given my bonus card, which I just couldn't get anything going with that. Just grab the flycatcher on the fly, just right off the bat. I got that laid down. That could have potentially been 11 points for me if I would have found another cherry bird.
Yeah, but I think with that time, the shoveler was the only water bird that you were aware of in your 5 hands and in the bird tray, and it's so important to have one bird at least in the waterland. So I think you have to keep the shoveler. But no, I think I think it'll be great for you guys both to review. I still think as you're both aware, you're both new to the game. I think there's still some learnings to come out of that. And yeah, but it was a good game to watch. It was tight. In the end, it really was the bonus cards of Jolly that made the difference. That got them over the line.
Yeah,
I was surprised. I'm surprised I'm surprised it is as close as it actually is. Oh, I think I put up a fight.
Yeah. No, we both ended up with some good high point bird cards, which is good. And that got the base score up. I think the Kildor made a little bit of a difference early on in the game. That was helpful. But I was struggling at the end whether to continue to play the Ibis and get that 8-point bird. But fortunately, I went back and looked at my deck, and I noticed the Pipit, which was going to get me the right nest for the end of round, and also maybe some good bonus points that didn't pan out as much as I had hoped. But so in total, it was like a 6-point bird when I laid it down. But I think that it allowed me to secure that end of round goal.
Yeah, but
I was powerless at that point to compete with that. I was hoping that I would gain that 3 points, but
I also, did you notice that I didn't play any raptors? I didn't want you to benefit that magpie to benefit at all.
Yeah, the only reason I kept it was it would be easy to hit that first round goal, and I really had nothing. Definitely. I had nothing for grassland to start, so that was it.
Good game, good fun.
Hey, congrats! Go get him, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, well done.
I can't wait to go back and listen to the commentary. That'll be fun. I had a lot of family members listening. They're pretty psyched.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right now.
Yeah, well, look, if you guys have any questions or anything like the comment chat, but really appreciate you guys jumping on and well done, and good luck for the rest of the tournament, Jolly and Oki. Look, I really hope you can get that win on your last game.
Yeah, well, I'm in the next tournament too, so.
Yeah, awesome.
Maybe I'll meet you in the as that progresses.
I'm already, but I was the first person out of the other tournament, so.
Really?
Yeah. I played the first game and I was the first one to lose. So.
Accidental burn from Oki there.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, no, actually, I'll probably meet him in the losers bracket. Is what
there is no losers bracket in that one. We're just out. This is gone. We're just
you
dead.
two can have your own losers bracket.
I'll meet you in the void.
Yep, definitely. Well, you go review that, and I need to go to bed because it's about 20 to midnight here. 20 to 1, sorry, in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I'll talk to you all soon.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.